I would say we can jump to the fast reply round. I mean, we talk a little bit about it, but the idea of this is knowing how life in Amsterdam, in your case, is for you without overthinking it a bit. So I would just ask you a couple of questions and maybe you can reply it whatever it is the reality for yourself, let's say like this. The first one that I have, it's talking about cultural adjustment. So, for example, this one thing that took you time to adapt when you arrived to Netherlands.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think overall was mostly adapting to different seasons. Because in Brazil, we have, in São Paulo at least, more or less two seasons. It's like winter or summer. And what changes is that summer is super hot and it rains, and January, February specifically. And then winter is a bit colder, but 12 degrees, not so cold. And that's it. But we have like the days, they last more or less the same. We have the same fruits and, vegetables, and everything is available all year long, mostly. And it's sunny. So here I really feel the lack of sun from, usually October, November until March. So it's a long period of darkness.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Second one that I have is social life. How do you usually meet friends? How do you describe the social life of Dutch people, for example?
Yeah, well, for me, luckily, it's very easy to meet and connect with people. I'm a very social person. I really like, getting to know, and that's I think the main driver for me to want to live abroad and be open for different places and cultures, because I really like getting to know people and their story, their culture, and so on. So I met people that I already knew from Brazil that were living here. I'm friends of colleagues from my previous work, my jobs. I made friends with neighbors, parties, events. So that I think here it's very, at least Amsterdam, because Amsterdam is completely different from the rest of the Netherlands. People are very open and it's very international. So there's also this willingness to meet, to connect, to make friends, to be friends.
I see. Interesting. What about language? Can you speak Dutch? If
Not
someone who
yet.
trying to learn?
That is a big topic for expats here, because again, Amsterdam is so international. And I met so many people that they said they studied, and then the moment they go and they order a coffee, maybe they do a little bit of a mistake or they realize the accent is different, then they change it immediately to English again. So it's really hard to learn, like improve, to speak, to practice. That's why so far I haven't felt the need to learn, but it's on my goals for next year to start learning Dutch. It's a very hard language to pronounce, especially if you're from a Latin background. So it's going to be a good challenge for the coming years.
Yeah, good luck. I did the German once back in the day. It is a journey. The fourth
It
one that I
is.
have, it's cost of living actually. Like on average, more or less the cost of living in Netherlands right now in Amsterdam, which I suppose it's also different from the rest of the country. What is also surprisingly cheap, what is surprisingly expensive, for example.
Well, here the house market is crazy. They don't have enough houses for the population in general. And then Amsterdam, because it's the biggest city and the most international, it's also the most expensive, especially because of expats, because then we have tax benefit. So usually our salary is a bit above the locals for the first 3 to 5 years at least. So that makes, let's say just the rent, it can be around 2,000, 2,500 in Amsterdam. So that means that the cost of living for one person, if you would live alone and pay the rent and all the housing costs on your own, can be easily between 3 to 5,000 euros per month. It's quite high. What is surprisingly cheap. So rent is the most expensive for sure. I don't think there's anything surprisingly cheap here. Maybe cheese, because it's the land of the cheese, but it's not super cheap, but it's affordable, very, very affordable. But I would say that cycling is something that it's for free in a way, and that can lead you to do a lot of other stuff. And in Amsterdam, there are a lot of nice things and places and beautiful places you can do for free as well. There's some museums, there are parks, cultural exhibition, a lot of cultural programs from the government or the municipality. So there's a lot you can do for free.
That's nice.
Yeah.
You touched it a little bit, but finding a home How does people find apartments? What is the hardest part of the whole process? How do you do it?
I would say that the whole process is very hard, very challenging. Even before I came, luckily when I came was during COVID, so a lot of expats have left the city, so there were more apartments free. But nowadays, people take sometimes 6 months to find a place, and it's very competitive. So they have usually like a viewing or waiting list of 40 people to see one apartment. So the best way is through contacts, networking, putting yourself out there, start asking everyone, posting on social media, joining different kind of WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups. Be careful with scams. But yeah, I would say through contacts, the best way.
Nice. This next one, it's something that I know that it's kind of difficult, but what do you do to try to live like a local, let's say, like to try to blend in into Dutch society?
Well, I would say like to live like a local, the first thing is cycling because it's really not only part of the culture, but it's really way better and easier to go everywhere. And that drives to other aspects. So for example, you have to adapt your clothing, even your style usually because it has to be comfortable. Probably if you do your hair, it's going to get wet or messy when you get there. So you see that if you are overdressed or if you are with too like makeup and so on, you are not blending in because the locals, they're very like low key in that sense.
Mm.
Yeah, well, they don't bother about warm lunch, for example. So if you are working and you're going out with colleagues for lunch, probably will be more like sandwich or soup or salad, very basic and very fast, 30 minutes. They eat very early in the evening, like an early dinner. So if you would invite people over, or if you would go to someone's house, probably they would let to invite you for like after around 8 p.m. because then from 6 to 7 they would be having dinner themselves. So this is interesting to know. And if you want to blend in, just complain about the weather and the prices.
Which applies to a lot of countries.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nice. What about the work life? I mean, you touch both corporate and non-corporate work life in Netherlands. How is it, the whole work environment, the job market, the work culture?
I would say in general, it's supposed to be a good work-life balance. In the recent years, due to several wars and crises and economic situation, what I see is that everybody's working a lot. So it's changed a little bit from what it used to be. It also depends, of course, on the company. So because Amsterdam is the hub for the European Union for some companies, there are a lot of international companies. So then there is the company culture, American, for example. But Dutch companies or the Dutch work style would be a little bit more casual, very like a practical, agile, high paced as well. But it doesn't mean then so that means you should be very productive but not necessarily work over hours. So it's a matter of the way of working, less about the hours, I would say.
Sounds very German also.
Yeah, I would say similar to German, but a little bit
Yes.
more with more fun on the way, more
Okay.
relaxed.
Nice. The next point, I think you already touched it quite a couple of times, but getting around transportation, best way to move around. Is it good, the system? It's not.
Public transport is really good. You can go everywhere. And cycling, of course, because it's health and cheap. And a lot of people, they commute from other cities as well. So the train is also, it works fairly well. Although if you ask a Dutch person, they might say it doesn't work so well. They have more like higher standards in this sense, I guess. Yeah, but it's not so cheap. So for example, one trip in a bus or metro or tram would be around 2 to 3 euro. So both ways, 5 to 6 euros.
But
Yeah.
what about the healthcare? Does the system works? Is easy to access? There is quality of healthcare?
Yeah. Well, so that's the second thing that I dislike about the Netherlands. It's the healthcare. It's more about the way they face healthcare. They don't do preventive healthcare. So you'd never do blood tests or you never know how your health is unless you have something. So that's a different mindset from, at least from what I'm used to. The system is public, so but you have to pay. So you pay around €140 per month. It's obliged. Everybody has to pay for it. You can choose which provider, but it's obliged. And as you're gonna use it, you pay partially also for the treatments or the consultation or medication up to a limit of around €400 a year. So if you need a surgery or anything, and then probably part of it will be charged, but then the rest, when it reaches this ceiling of €400, then you don't pay anything else. So it's really good if you have something serious, because then the quality and the treatment, everything will be high quality.
Mhm.
But for daily things, or so then it's really, I personally do my health check in Brazil.
Okay, interesting. What about, I mean, this is always normally not very good anywhere, bureaucracy, like dealing with paperwork, visas, work permits, so on, so on.
I would say here is here in Sweden, I've only had good experiences. First of all, most of the places I need to call or sort out, they have someone that's like, you can do it in English. So that's amazing. Second of all, it's all digital, it's all clear, also the steps and the systems and how to do it. There is even a WhatsApp from the government that you can message and you can ask kind of anything. So that's amazing. The only thing is that sometimes like the deadlines can be longer. So for example, when you arrive and you have to register in the city hall to get your ID, your number, your identification number, sometimes the queue for that is like 2 months. So that means, for the first 2 months, you can't really open a bank account or do a lot of other things. But rather than that, rather than the length, for me at least, the experience is quite good compared to other places that I know of. Yeah.
Nice. Probably it's the first time that someone replies positively to this one, but good. I have two more. The next one, it's best and worst. So basically, what's the best thing about living in Netherlands and what's the worst thing about living in Netherlands?
Well, the best for sure for me, it's being able to cycle. That combines with another one, which is safety. So being able to feel independent and safe and just be out and about without worrying so much. I think that's for me. Yeah, there's no price, nothing can pay for that, for this kind of peace of mind. And overall, their culture, I really like that they are like they're like organized, pragmatic, but they also really like to have fun, you know? So they like going to parties. It's very common to go to festivals and see people in their 60s having fun. So I like this balance of, being responsible and following your words and things work properly, but also you have fun. You like to enjoy life. And what I like the least, the lack of sun and the healthcare system.
Last one, top tip. If someone is planning to move to Netherlands, what is your one line advice, top recommendation?
Well, be very aware of why you want to move to the Netherlands and the housing. Really be patient if you can plan ahead, or if you can have someone hosting you for the first months, because it can be very, very stressful. And when you move, you have already a lot of things to sort out, and the housing is really the hardest one.
Nice. Thanks a lot for the quick responses on all of these topics. I hope the audience will appreciate and get an overview of it.